All right. Hello and welcome to another edition of Critical Conversations. Hey, everybody. Hey, critics. Live from Denver. It is Friday night. As you can see, I am flying solo tonight. Mel is a little under the weather. It's been a day. It's been a week. It's been quite a week. This has been well, I'll tell you all about it. Okay, so let's make sure we're all on board here. We are good. It is great to see you guys in the comments section. All the usual suspects, of course, and more coming on. So I am very happy to have you guys here for the open mic edition of Critical Conversations, which means that phone lines are open, 984-214-4154. And we can talk about whatever you want. I did a live stream this week on Monday. We talked about ethics and justice, Scientology style. And I wanted to give some background and info on that was not being, obviously presented elsewhere on Masterson's case and the backstory of some of that. I think we've all been, most of us have been following that case very closely. Thankfully, due to Tony Ortega's relentless on-the-ground reporting on a multiple times a day. Every time there's a break, he gives us a transcript drop of what's going on in the courtroom on this case, day by day, blow by blow. And it has been a fascinating education in the law and in how Scientology comes into a courtroom or often does not and cannot and will not be allowed in the courtroom. They've got bits and pieces and here and there and snippets and statements and various things, but there's not really like a full, okay, jury, here's Scientology, here's its beliefs, here's the structure of the ethics stuff. They're not getting that. And I really wish they could, because just to get right into that, because there are, oh my gosh, so many things that they could be told about or should know about that they are being prevented from knowing about. Not to the point that I think they're not going to be able to make a rational judgment in this case, because it really is about Masterson, not Scientology. But boy, you really wish this stuff could get more and more and more exposure that it deserves and it should have, in cases like this. But boy, you always you learn lessons watching the real thing happen versus what you see. And I constantly am making this point. Versus what you see on TV or in movies, the way the law is argued and represented and courtrooms are represented on in entertainment, it is just so blatantly, patently wrong that the only thing they're really getting right is that there is a judge and there is a jury and there is a plaintiff and a defendant. I mean, that's it. That's all they get is those components exist, but what happens, how they interact, what goes on in the trial. None of that's really in there on TV. So anyway, just checking out. Oh, hey, Robot 303, welcome to the show and to Patreon and all of that. I'm very happy to have you here. Not too big to check out the comments and see what's going on. I will be poking my head in over here at the comments as often as I can as we're going. Oh boy, so many things to talk about. And we can definitely... I didn't. In fact, I should have even updated the topic along the bottom of the screen there where it says Masterson trial began this week. That's not the case. I can't go over and fix it right now, but it should say open mic down there. I'm telling you, I've been rushing from place to place to place like all week. It has been a bit nuts. Let me just tell you about that real fast, just so you all get where I'm coming from. So last weekend, I flew out to New York, and I did a presentation out in White Plains, New York, to the Ethical Society out there, and that was kind of fun. And then came back. Wednesday, I had eye surgery. I had my lens replaced. I had cataract surgery, and so the lens of my right eye was replaced. It was a much better one. And that seemed to go off well, but of course, all of Wednesday was lost to that, most of Thursday as well because of recovery and recuperating from that, not getting a lot of work done around that kind of thing. And now I've got these eye drops. I have to do like 12 eye drops a day. I got these 3 different drops I have to do 4 times a day. So, boy, so it's been busy. And then today, Friday, I had a podcast to do, and I had this show to do, and I am doing another live presentation or show, or not show, but a live talk here in Denver tomorrow night at the Secular Hub. So, and I posted a link up on that on Twitter and stuff. And so, so I've got that to prep for, because it's not the same presentation as what I did out in the Ethical Society out in New York. So it's been busy, crazy busy. And then today stuff came up with Mel that we had to deal with. And so that consume most of my day. So I got home at 4, shot the podcast with Cyprian, which you will see tomorrow. I still have to edit it after the show tonight. And then got this show. And so now here we are doing this. So I just wanted you to know why I was a little breathless, why Mel's not here, and why this week has been a little crazy for me, to the point where I'm making mistakes like the topic of the show is not right. So there you go. All right. So all of that being said, we've got a call in the queue. So you know what? This is a call-in show. So let's go ahead and pick up this call and see where it goes. Let me make sure that the volume is up here. Okay. Hello, you are on.
Hello.
Hi, David.
Yes, it's good to be back.
Yeah, good to talk to you. Hey, what you got for us today?
Well, I've got a couple of things. The first thing is what might be a short question might turn into a long question. There's obviously the relevance of Scientology to the Danny Masterson trial. In one respect is obviously the ethics issue, and it torpedoes the classic defense question of why did it take you so long to report, as I think I said a few months ago.
Yep.
Well, why did it take you so long to report? Because Scientology told me not to. Now, if I understand it correctly, Scientology ethics on this is predicated on Scientology being a superior system to so-called WOD law.
Yeah.
But I'd have to wonder then, what would happen if Scientology actually achieved its goal of taking over a city or a country or the world, and now everybody is subject to Scientology ethics? What actually would happen, or do we think would happen, if they had to adjudicate these things themselves?
It would look and feel almost exactly like North Korea.
Oh.
That's what would happen. Yeah. The ethics and justice system of Scientology is an oppressive, high control system that enforces a mafia-like loyalty and only exists, and this is the point I tried to make in my show on Monday, it only exists to protect the earners. If you're an earner for Scientology, you're golden.
Then you're a good person.
Yeah, that is literally the definition of an ethical person within the confines of Scientology's understanding of ethics. And this is a carefully indoctrinated viewpoint. There are classes and courses you can take on ethics in Scientology. This is a point of indoctrination. It's not just a passing idea Chris Shelton has as a result of his experience with it. It's really baked it right into the scriptures, if you will, of Scientology.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, that's also a very, very calculated subversion of words.
Yeah.
Because to almost everybody, ethics is the very system that we impose against the pursuit of unlimited profit. And yet in Scientology now it is the apotheosis of that almost. That's
right. I could actually, I'm thinking, I'm seriously thinking about, future academic research or work to show this, to show how they have created a structure. And this is very similar to the research that I did on auditing, right? Where I can show structurally, I can show you how the very framework of what's going on there is it can't be anything else but destructive. And I think I could show now with the ethics system how I could lay it out like a template right on top of a mafia structure or Scientology structure, and it would be same purpose, same design and intent, and same enforcement system. If you step out of line, obviously Scientology is not going to take you out back and put a bullet in your head like the mafia might.
No.
But they'll ruin you utterly. That's right in their dogma. So and by the way,
so I have been. Yep.
Just to comment on this real fast about that 45 comment, people remind me often, and they should, that Hubbard actually did joke around about R245, a process to take a gun and shoot somebody. So,
yes.
Please continue.
About literally murdering people.
Yeah.
Because I got the impression that, at least in some respect, the existence of Scientology ethics and the clinging on to Scientology ethics was at least in part predicated on the WOG law existing as something for them to feed off as the other. And I was wondering what would happen if that disappeared.
Could you clarify that for me?
Yeah. So one of the reasons why Scientology ethics, at least in my theory about it, so obviously of having fortunately never been involved, my theory about it would be that Scientology ethics as a system was predicated on putting itself above another system in reality, so-called WOG law. What happens if that other system doesn't exist? Does that not pose some kind of crisis internally?
No, that would be the natural progression and evolution of it as far as Scientologists are concerned, because remember, there are many policies in Scientology where Hubbard talks about, screw this system, we're building a better one. We're building a better world.
Yeah.
And so by Scientology, if I understand what you're asking, then Scientology's system taking over or assimilating, Borging the law, would be, Scientologists would have no conflict there whatsoever.
Okay, because I was thinking it might almost be like that scene in Finding Nemo, where they're all in the fish are all in the plastic bags floating in the water, and now saying, now what?
Okay, I never saw Finding Nemo, so I don't know that reference. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I get it.
I mean, if you've got time, another quick thing I'd like to ask is actually about the psychology of the whole. Because yesterday, a video came out from China in Lanzhou of people quarantined in a gym locker room. And these people were not trying to fight their way out. They were not arguing. They were sleeping quite obediently on the floor. And that reminded me of the stories of 100 people sleeping in an office block in the hole. And I mean, let's be real for a moment. They were sleeping in the office block in the hole from the stories that have come out on the whole. They weren't trying to bust their way out.
No.
And I'm just wondering if in your masters on this kind of psychology, if you have any thoughts on how that actually happens.
Oh, sure, absolutely. It's called it's a culture of conformity, and that's not some official term I learned. I just kind of made that up, but it is what it is. There's the Church of Scientology, destructive cults in general. I mean, we can say this is characteristic of these groups. Is that there are compliance and enforcement mechanisms in place, and the discipline is able to be ramped up to a point of incredible harshness to enforce that compliance. And compliance is absolutely necessary to the survival of a destructive cult. So a cult leader or leadership will come up with some system that enforces that compliance, and people become like the boiling frog or the lobster, not the lobster, but the frog analogy. they become slowly, gradually used to it. If you throw them in on day one, they'll just hop right out of there.
They'll jump out.
But you give it time and they'll perish in there, right? And not even realize what's happening to them until it's too late. So
I think the disturbing thing about destructive cults, and particularly the situation in China at the moment, is that we aren't even really, it's not really the boiling frog might have a moment of realization that they could have got out. The boiling frog is submerging itself in to kill itself faster. It's an enthusiastic participant.
That happens.
In what's going on.
That happens.
And there was a story about a month ago now in China, in another city, where they had mandated that you can't just wear surgical masks anymore. You have to wear the proper fitted N95 masks. And 1 hour after this announcement happened, an elderly man who probably didn't even have a phone was getting on a train, and suddenly the entire train carriage rose up and hurled every abusive term at him under the sun.
Sure.
And practically threw him out of the carriage before security was even needed to be called. These people are, at least to some extent, enthusiastic participants in what's going on. And I'm wondering I see that from the outside now, and I'm thinking if that's not a destructive cult, what is? But I'm wondering if that's your experience, or if that's the kind of thing you learned more about. If you had any comments on how that kind of thing actually happens.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. What you have there, in addition to the compliance mechanisms and the sort of culture of conformity, and let's not downplay that. That's strong. That is a incredibly strong influencer on people's behavior is the conformity aspect. And we've got experiments, but probably one of the most successfully replicated, I should say, experiments in psychology is the Asch conformity experiments, where they test people's ability to step outside the box or disagree with a group of people, and people find it very hard to do. That's one factor. Another factor is virtue signaling. And that's the opposite sort of end of it, where you're seeking validation or reward by demonstrating good behavior in terms of the group value set. So virtue signaling is also part of what I think you're seeing on that train, where everybody suddenly rises up. It's like there's fear of punishment, there's culture of compliance, and then you have, everybody wants to be a good citizen. And this is way more prominent in North Korea than I've seen in China. But let's not forget, China is ruled by a very authoritarian framework, in their government. So I think you have all three of those things going on.
Yeah. I've said to a lot of people that asked me what it was like to live in China, and I told them straight, it's worse than you think. Imagine. Yeah. Oh, it is. It's worse than you think. If I ask the average person on the street in the UK today to tell me what they think North Korea would look like, they would tell me what China looks like right now without knowing it.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Agreed.
So,
we've got some calls backing up in the queue, so I'm going to have to let you go, David, but this has been a good call. I definitely appreciate the points you're bringing up.
Absolutely, yeah. And also, what might be slightly good news is the clocks in the UK are going back soon, so the time difference won't be quite as onerous for a potential future call-in.
Yay! Well, I really appreciate you putting the hours in and waiting up and calling in. I really do. You're always a good caller.
Oh, it's great. It's great when I can get on. So,
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Good. Let's go to the next one. We got 3 calls in the queue, so I'm going to try to pick these up. Rat-a-tat-tat here. And here is our next one. I believe this is Henny. Hello.
Hello, Chris. Good evening, my darling.
Hey.
Hi. I I missed you so much. I really did. It's been quite a few weeks, and I missed you guys, and I missed the critics and everybody's input. I'm glad to be back, and I'm really sorry I wasn't able to get to see you in White Plains the other.
Yeah,
I think it was Saturday,
bummed. I was hoping I could meet you there. That would have been fun.
Oh my! If I tell you, I was at a wedding in New Jersey, so there was absolutely nothing I could do. But I found out at the last minute, or else I would have tried to do something.
Yeah, I probably should have alerted a lot earlier that I was going out there. I am so lax at my own PR department. So
listen, you know what? As time goes on, you'll get better with it, and I will certainly do the best I can because I'm, within that area. So that's no problem. I'm sorry to hear about your eye surgery, but I just want to encourage you that I've also had cataract removal and lens transplant in both my eyes, and I see much better now.
Oh yeah,
and it's been quite a few years.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
so,
it was stressful the day of surgery, but I am all for it. Believe me, I've been looking forward to this for a couple months now, because as you know, when you have cataracts, it's like looking through a dirty window all day long.
Yeah.
And when they replace it, it's like somebody took some Windex to that damn window. It's like I can actually see now. So I'm definitely happy to have received it. It was just one more thing this week, is all I was saying there.
Listen, you don't have to say anymore. I'm right there with you. I totally understand.
Yeah.
But things will get better.
Indeed.
And so I'm just there to support you with everything. But, always remember you are so terrific.
Wow.
And I was just reading in the comments, you got a new Patreon, and I'm so glad. And that's really wonderful. It would be nice for everybody to just, partake in that because it's very important. Okay, bringing all that up, there are so many things because I've missed a month, but I'm a quick talker. I'm going to try to get in as much as I can.
Bring it.
And, okay, so first of all, for David, I like his call. I always enjoy his calls. He was and please let me know if I'm wrong, but his perception was that women were coming forward now. Like, why are they coming forward now? And you know what I mean? As opposed to...
in the trial. Yeah.
Okay, yes. So I just wanted to let him know as a woman that even if I were a man, but being a woman in that position, most people don't report it at all.
Yep.
Okay? Okay. That's regardless of whether they are under coercive control and in a cult.
Yeah.
If you are under that sort of abuse, basically her even coming forward at all is heroic.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. And you being the master of coercive control really understand that and can explain it best, far better than I, okay, about why women would not report that. Forget about men. Men will never report it. Okay? They just won't do it.
True.
Okay? Because that's just like beyond.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They rather suffer with that in silence.
That's right.
I'm just giving, David, that sort of thing. And I also wanted to remind David. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just might butt in for just a second, and just to be super clear, because you're right, and the points he was making, I fully agree with too. And the reason why is because I believe, and maybe I'm speaking for him, but I believe the reason he was bringing that up is because it is key to the prosecution's case, that they must explain to the jury why these women didn't come forward right away. Because it's the expectation in society, right or wrong, and I believe it's wrong, and I agree with you, but it seems to be the assumption or expectation by regular folks that if something bad happens to you, you are expected to go report it immediately to the police or something's wrong with you. And they don't understand the trauma aspect of that, right? And that's why that's why it's part of the case.
Well, okay. Well, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
And maybe this is food for thought. You remember food for thought?
Oh, yeah, of course. What you got?
Okay. Maybe that's why they need people like you who understand what coercive control is, who are experts in that field.
Well, yes, exactly.
So
and I think they've got somebody on the witness list that's going to be talking about that.
Yeah, well, they should have Chris Shelton, MSW, okay? Because I'm sorry, you are the master of it. You understand it. You have it. No, I say it truthfully.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And they need that so that they can eliminate, all this time that they spend trying to prove when they should already understand what it is.
Exactly.
We're far too, and we need people of your expertise. Okay.
Fair enough.
Thank you, sweetheart. And it's true. And I applaud you. And I really hope that you go into that field, whatever. I know judicial can be a real pain in the ass, but they're so lax. They're so unknowing.
Yes.
Unknowing.
Yes.
And they need to really be taught, as we all do. So, David, that was for you, as well as this, David. China, you mentioned China, how bad it was in China.
Yep.
We talked about Korea a little bit, and we talked about the UK a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And
I just wanted to give him some food for thought. What's the common denominator in all three?
Pray tell.
Yeah, it's food for thought. What?
Oh, I thought you were going to answer what that common denominator was.
Well, if you'd like me to, I can.
Please share your ideas. What are you thinking?
Okay, but I would like everybody to just think about this. The common denominator of China and what goes on here and in Korea and in the UK are human beings.
Yes, true enough.
Okay? And that's how I feel. It doesn't matter what culture, what color, it doesn't matter. It is within us. We are humanity, and this is what we need to work on desperately.
Big time.
Also an area of your expertise. Okay, and with that, I had two quick other things.
Yep.
I wanted to get, because you had written something, I really haven't been online because I needed some time just to catch up with myself, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see something that you wrote about the Twitter feed,
mm-hmm.
and that you weren't. You were looking for other ways to connect with everyone.
Oh, I only put up. Yeah. Excuse me. Let me clarify that.
Okay.
Today I tweeted quite a few things because today Elon Musk was taking over Twitter, and this is a rather controversial thing. And Twitter was aflutter with news of this, and there have been a lot of people leaving Twitter in protest. And I wanted, and I posted, I said, look, I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. If there's any place to defend freedom of speech or whatever, I'll help do that. But I said, but if this thing crashes or dies out or something, I don't want to lose touch with everybody like I did last time I left Twitter, before I had connected with people who I don't want to lose touch with. So I was kind of saying, let's contact some other way if you want to stay in touch if this thing melts down. But in the meantime, Twitter's fine.
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to put all that out there.
Okay, I got you. Well, I personally understand that, and I don't think that he, with all his money, has the ability to, destroy something that exists. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It might just be a phase. It might just be a phase for him anyway. He's like that. Flimsical. Okay. And I was really glad about Mike Rinder's book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good, huh? Did you see my interview with him?
Let me think now. No, I did not, Chris. You had an interview with Mike.
Check it out.
I'm trying to, I've been having a little bit of focus issues. Bear with me, critics. Okay. I might have seen it, and I might have written about it because I thought it was good. Okay. but I will definitely check it out again. I'm sure it's on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I posted it a week or two ago. So.
Okay.
Cool.
I will definitely check that out.
Awesome.
Okay. Listen, it was so glad to catch up with all of you and with you, really. And I wish you the best, sweetheart. You take care of yourself. And love to the dog, and love to Melissa. I love you all, and
awesome.
We'll see each other. Hopefully. Listen, next time, just let me know. When you're going to be around again. You have any clue? I haven't heard that you were ever in White Plains.
No, it was first time, and I've only been out to the East Coast like 2 or 3 times, so I don't have any other speaking engagements lined up right now. But as soon as I do, I will definitely let everybody know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I look forward to next year, and I look forward to talking to you again. Okay. So have a great night, sweetheart.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Good. Got a couple more. We're just going to go bang into these next ones because folks are very patiently waiting in the queue. Here we go. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Chris. How's it going?
Hey, thanks for waiting, man. What's up?
No problem. So I was wondering, with what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, in your opinion, if things keep going the way they are for Russia,
mm-hmm.
and it ends up going badly for them, do you see that country reverting back to a more maybe post-Stalin Soviet-style version of control and oppression?
It's very possible. It seems that I don't say this in an effort to try to blame or find fault with anybody, okay? That's not my flow here or how I'm coming at this, okay? The culture of Asia, of Russia, is just centuries it's so different from the Western way of thinking about things and doing things. And I can't say that I'm any kind of expert or deeply, knowledgeable about the Russian culture and the history, but I know enough. I've lived with this my whole life, as all of us have, right, through the Cold War and all that bullshit, that there was this wonderful song in the 80s that helps demonstrate my point here that Sting wrote. It was a hit song. It's called it was called Russians, and the main line of the song, the hook of the song was, "Do Russians love their children too?" Right? It's a valid question. Do they? And of course they do.
Yep.
Of course they do. It was a question asked, to point out the ridiculousness of the idea. Of course they do. But the way, the value set, and what they're willing to put up with, and the history of what they've had to put up with, and the living conditions there are so different that it forms a different world view and mindset and culture. And I'm only harping on all this to say there tends to be a what's the word? A favorableness towards, or an inclination towards, authoritarian rule.
Yeah,
and I'm not trying to blame the victim in saying that. It's just, it seems to be a cultural thing over there, and resources are, so fewer than they are here. And access to information is so different over there that judging them by our standards is, damn near impossible to do. Please don't do it. Look at it from their perspective, So that's my first thoughts on this. But I don't want to cut you off. I keep cutting you off.
Oh, no. Go ahead. I was just agreeing with you.
Okay, fair enough. I just want to make sure you were getting your thoughts in. So I think that... am I live streaming at the same time as Aaron right now? That's hilarious. Okay, just seeing that in the comments here. So it's anybody's guess what's going to happen. But what we already saw when the wall came down was an influx into Russia of Western companies and opportunists, and a whole meltdown of their kind of economic structure and system, and this sort of westernization. But then within a few years, it all turned around. Putin took over. The church came down hard. Russian Orthodox Church came down hard on Scientology, JWs, but they also came down hard on anybody else that wasn't Russian Orthodox, right? And so there's this sort of, we could call it a cultural, traditional perspective, I guess, right? That they're just kind of used to a certain way of life, and the structure of their system and their resources and the way they distribute resources seems to lend itself to authoritarian control a lot easier than, say, over here. We have a different kind of authoritarianism over here.
Well, I come from I'm not an expert, but by any means on the subject, but I did spend a little bit of time in the military, and so I have a little bit of knowledge as far as how that goes. And it even extends to that. The doctrine, that Russian military doctrine is way different, even in that regard. Like, the way they have it set up, everything, all of the orders have basically come right from the top, right from the Putin in the Kremlin, and they just get filtered down from there. Whereas with our military, there's a little bit more, what do I want to say? There's a little bit more, like the squad leaders and the, in lower level officers have a lot more sway or have a lot more input as to what happens. So, and it's the same thing. It's just so different.
Yeah, it's really different.
With with U.S. military doctrine, we consider 50% loss to be combat ineffective, and when that happens, a unit would be taken to the rear and then reformed with other units to form a unit that is combat effective. Well, what they're doing is they're just saying, "No, screw it, just keep going. And if you go back that way, we're going to shoot you."
Oh yeah, and I
don't understand.
And it's even worse right now because, as I understand it from Chris Owens, who's done some really good Scientology historical research, well, he has really gone to town on Twitter, of all places, constantly, daily, reporting on how the conscript troops over in the Russian troops going into the Ukraine are ill-equipped, unequipped, literally having to buy their own kit off of eBay in order to have flak vests and uniforms and helmets and all the things that are supposed to be given to them, they're not getting because that stuff was sold. I mean, the corruption in this system is so rampant, it's hard to even begin to understand. It touches every layer of their society. And so, it's how do you build a democracy out of that? How do you build free will out of a system where everybody is scrambling for resources? It's really hard.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I think at this point, if there was a coup, there would just be there's so many people that think exactly like Putin. There probably would just be a Putin number 2 or Putin number 3 waiting in the wings.
That's what I hear. So, that's what I'm told by people who are more knowledgeable on the subject is that, hey, you think Putin's bad? Wait till you see the guys who are standing in line. Yeah. And that's not, and I am no Putin defender, but I'm like, God,
You touched on flak jackets. I wanted to point something out to you. I don't know if you've looked closely at these videos that they're showing, but if you do, they're called plate carriers now. Flak jackets are all one unit with the material built into them, and plate carriers have slots for Kevlar plates.
Yep, I've seen those.
Well, if you look closely at the ones that are being issued, when these guys are moving around, the plate carriers are conforming to their body. When you have the plates in there, those plates are extremely rigid. So they like you could bend over, they'd be sticking out, and you could tell that they're in there. They're going around with plate carriers in a war zone with no plates in them.
Exactly.
I honestly feel sorry for these people.
I do too.
And in a way.
No, I do too. The soldiers on the ground, they're, you know, they're not ideologues. They're not there to, you know, war. They're not war hogs. They're there because they have no other choice. It's awful on all ends. You know, I hate war for that reason.
Yeah.
Ugh,
well, that's all that I had. I just wanted to blow off some steam and get your opinion on that subject. So.
Well, thank you for calling in, Kevin, and thanks for asking me about that.
Yep. All right, thanks.
All right, bye-bye. All right, and here we go with our last call in the queue. Hello, is this Gail?
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Hey, I am good. Thank you so much for waiting so patiently. What's up?
I hope Melissa's okay.
Yeah.
Say hello to the dog. I wanted to, did you see on Aaron's channel, he showed a bunch of Scientology's advertisements, and they were just hilarious.
I'll bet. I have not seen that yet, but I have certainly seen plenty of Scientology advertisements, and I know how hilariously stupid they are. So that's cool.
Well, they just really ramped this up. Mm-hmm. So they had about 5 or 6 of them, and they showed them distributing food to hungry people. My understanding is that those are degraded people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Scientology is not a charitable organization, and they're not big on charity. The only time you ever hear or see that out of Scientology organizations, and this is 27 years in, so I watch this happen every year. There would be a food drive or a can drive during Christmas time, and otherwise nobody could ever be bothered to be given charity to anybody. And the volunteer ministers who go out to the trauma sites or the disaster zones, they are there for photo ops, way, way, way more than they are there to help people. So it's pretty fake. The whole thing is pretty fake, and it really is awful.
I just couldn't believe it. They said 19 times we were here to help people in floods, hurricanes, food. I mean, I just did not believe it.
Yep. It really is that outrageous, and they really are that bold in their lies. It's anything that'll get. Mm-hmm.
This was all in the Los Angeles area. Mm-hmm. We're here for you, help you. We contribute to the community. I'm thinking these people have more nerve than I guess.
Oh well, let's be clear, Gail. Those commercials, those advertisements. Let's be super clear on the LA area ones. I'm glad you brought that up because it reminded me. The audience for those commercials is 12 people, and those 12 people are the jury on Danny Masterson's trial. They are hoping that those jurists will see those commercials and think favorably about Scientology as a result.
I don't even see how they could show those to the jury.
Oh, they won't. They won't show them in the courtroom. They want them to go home at night and see it on TV. Right? Because the jurists have been instructed to not go research or look up Scientology or go do anything on the internet about anything having to do with the case. But if they see a TV commercial, well, I couldn't help that. It was just a TV commercial. So this is
my God.
Yeah, this is Scientology's effort to get to to give the jury positive PR about Scientology.
And they actually had the nerve to claim 5 million people slapping?
Yeah, they really do. And there are like 20,000 Scientologists. Yeah, it's crazy.
They don't even have 5 million members.
No, they don't. They've never had 5 million members. They're not even remote. They're not even close. Not even close.
They tell more blatant lies.
Yeah.
And you can imagine.
Yes, they do. They are liar, pants on fire. That is definitely what Scientology's all about.
Because I'm watching this and I'm going, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And anyway, congratulations on your surgery. I've had cataract surgery that makes you're able to see. It's wonderful.
I know. Oh, I know. And I'll get new glasses in about a month. Yeah, it'll be exciting.
It's cool. But I just one other question I had real fast was, I was thinking that if you're on the staff and you're supposed to have up stats,
yep.
you cannot do that every week because you're going to reach your plateau.
That's correct. That's exactly right. Yep.
I mean, it doesn't, because one week you have 3, the next week you have 4, maybe the next week you have 5, but somewhere you're going to run out of people.
Correct. It's a system doomed to failure.
So, and then the staff gets in trouble?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do. Yes. This outfit not only lies a lot, they're completely illogical. Surprise! That's destructive cults for you.
There's no logic whatsoever. And on my TV, come across, they'll say they want to teach, Scientology wants to teach me how to organize.
Yeah.
What you said, they're crazy at organization.
Yeah, exactly. It's laughably bad. It really is. It's pretty sad. And the reason that they get away with it, let me just say this real fast, Gail, is one of the reasons that they get away with this stuff is because it is so outrageous, because their lies are so bold and so blatant and so out there in your face that you're like, oh my God, these people are saying this with such certainty and conviction. Some of this must be true. And it's not. But just that attitude that they're trying to convey is itself part of the sales job of what they're doing. It's pretty crazy that people fall for it, but they do.
I lost you there somewhere.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
I don't know. I couldn't hear you. I don't know what. I know one thing. You talked earlier about the fact that, people will pay for anything that they believe in.
Yep.
But eventually, these people go bankrupt.
That's right. And that's generally generally when bankruptcy hit is sometimes when they start questioning their decisions.
Yeah, and you can't get that money back.
No, you cannot. No. That is, and that's what I'm trying to prevent is people getting there. Is like, hey, let's learn these lessons before we're ruined. Let's like put a little thinking into this. But people's emotions get the best of them.
Some people in Germany, the poor guy committed suicide because he was bankrupt, and now his family has this huge bill.
That's right.
And that's. I mean, they're causing people are committing suicide over this. This is terrible.
Yes, it is.
And since I don't have money, I'm just a degraded person. That is so judgmental.
Big time. All right, Gail. Well, thank you for calling in. I always love hearing from you.
Thank you for taking my call. I really appreciate it.
You bet.
And have a wonderful night. I hope Melissa's better.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, good. Bamboozled, I want to thank you for that super chat, and I will answer your question. You asked, did you get a freeloader's bill when you left the Sea Org? Did you pay it? Yes and yes, I did. I borrowed the money. It was about $5,000 for me, and I paid it. And then I had to pay that loan back after I got declared because I had borrowed that money from a Scientologist out in Minnesota, and I did not want to leave them high and dry, even though they disconnected from me. So I paid them back, even though they wouldn't talk to me. Could have just blown it off, but I did not because I did not want to do that. Okay. And then also, I did want to address one thing that I saw in the comments earlier because it's kind of important to me to say this. Robert, you made a comment earlier, which I'm looking up here. Okay, Robert says, so years later, your ex can decide you raped them after years of living together. Isn't that consent? So I'm going to take that comment, Robert, as though you really did mean that. I'm going to address that and give you some information about the case because it doesn't look like you're following the case very closely to say that. So the situation was that Danny Masterson was in a relationship with this woman, Jane Doe 1, I believe it was, or no, 3. I think it was Jane Doe 3. Anyway, one of the two women who has testified was in a relationship with Masterson, and one night they went out to dinner at the restaurant across the street from Celebrity Center, and they're both Scientologists. And she got according to her testimony, she was given a glass of wine, and at the end of the meal, the last thing she remembers about that night was getting up after that meal. And then the next thing, the entire night is completely blank in her memory. And she woke up the next morning in severe pain in her rear end and not having any knowledge of what happened to her that night. She goes downstairs, stumbles downstairs really, and asks Masterson, what the hell, what's going on, what happened? Because she has no memory of it. She doesn't suspect foul play, but her body's in pain, and she's not somebody who is into having sex that way. And so this was not something she wanted. And she says, what happened? And he said, we laughs at her and says, we had sex there. And communicates to her that they had anal sex. And she was, needless to say, not happy about that. There was no consent. There was not even a question asked that she could answer. She was passed out. And I believe she asked Masterson, while I was unconscious, and that this was something that he would do. Her and the other victim, I believe, both testified. Certainly one of them did, that they would often in their relationship wake up to find Masterson on top of them having sex with them. Before, he wouldn't ask, he didn't even intimate that that's what he wanted. He just got on and started going. So pretty crude descriptions, but I wanted to address your comment because it comes from a pretty uninformed place in terms of the specifics of the case. And you happen to actually restate exactly what the chaplain, the ethics officer at Celebrity Center told this woman when she went there that day. So this happens to her. She confronts Masterson. He laughs at her and says, yeah, we had sex and it was fun and I had a great time. And yeah, you were passed out. She goes down to the Celebrity Center and says, what the hell? And they tell her, yeah, your duty is to give your husband sex or your boyfriend sex whenever he wants. And it can't be rape because you're in a relationship with him. So don't use that word. Don't say that word. Don't even think that word, because it's not possible that you could be raped while you're in a relationship with somebody. So that is not true. And the description I just gave, according to the testimony she gave, is absolutely positively rape. So no consent there. And I hope that addresses your comment, because that's pretty serious stuff. So go ahead and follow the case by, it's okay, you're not following the case, so good, follow it. It's available for you on Tony's Substack. He is reporting multiple times a day with transcriptions of what's being reported on. So there you go. Okay. Again, we're getting into pretty harsh territory there, but it's important to me that we understand the facts of the situation and we not get away with bullshit on this, because these are traumatized victims. These are not women who just changed their mind after the fact, colluded as Scientology is presenting this, and are after some money or something. They are being stalked and harassed to this day to shut up and be silenced on this. And I find that entire thing completely disgusting. And I'm sure you guys do too. But I wanted to clarify that. Okay. So, oh God, I know. I know. Bijou Phillips as well. I mean, everybody this guy is around. I mean, I just don't even... yuck. Right? Yucky stuff. Okay, well, we're looking at wrapping up the show here pretty soon. Again, I want to thank you for that super chat, Bamboozled. Make sure I didn't miss anybody else. I did not. Yeah, Karen Powell is lying, X-Cyan. I don't know how else to say it. She is straight up lying. And I know personally of multiple instances of blatant criminal activity that happened while I was in the Sea Org that was not reported to the police. And I know of evidence of potential criminal activity that was actively and knowingly destroyed so that there would be no written record of it, so no criminal investigation could ever be done. I watched that happen right in front of me. And my protests and efforts to stop that it was made clear to me in no uncertain terms that was not an option. So I, to my shame, went along with that. Okay. So on a lighter note, let's wrap up the show with our cards. I am sorry I did not get Benson Cam this week. As I mentioned, life was busy today. And I still got some work ahead of me after the show. But let's do this. Loaded question. Okay. So these are our critical thinking cards. We do this every week. And I like to read from the critical thinking scriptures. Your fallacy. This is an example of a logical fallacy, a way that we don't necessarily think so well. And this one is called loaded question. Asking a question that has an assumption built into it so that it can't be answered without appearing guilty. Grace and Helen were both romantically interested in Brad. One day, with Brad sitting within earshot, Grace asked in an inquisitive tone whether Helen was having any problems with a fungal infection. Do you still beat your wife? Loaded question, right? There's no way to answer it. Okay. Good. That apparently, Robert, that's a loaded question rather than begging the question. I would have to look that up. But there we go. What a show, what a week, what a time to be alive, huh? I guess we'll see what the fallout is on Twitter to Elon Musk taking over. That was Twitter was a flutter today about all of that. And I guess we'll see this next week. The trial picks up again next Wednesday, apparently, because we're having Halloween next week. And if you're in Denver, if you're in the area, come by the Secular Hub tomorrow. I'm going to be talking, and then we're going to have a Halloween party. So it should be fun. I think the talk starts around 5 or 6. Look it up on meetup.com. That's where it's posted. Or just come by the Secular Hub, and I would love to see you there. All right, folks, as always, if you like the show, if you think what we're doing here on this channel is somehow informative and entertaining, then support the show. All right, and with that happy note, we're wrapping up. Bye-bye.